Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about our favorite animated comedy, South Park, but it's not to cover a new episode and explain it like usual. This time, South Park is in the news again, and if you've been paying attention to the show and our explained series here, you probably already know why. To recap, last week South Park had a new episode called Banned in China, and this week, a few days later, the show in fact got itself banned by that very red state. You see, last week South Park covered the ongoing pandering to China that has become rather out of hand for two big reasons. First of all, China has a very large growing market of consumers who have been slowly opening up more and more to Western products in recent history, and with its over 1 billion citizens becoming available buyers of the rest of the world's products, many companies have been trying to get in on that China money. And these consumer goods, of course, include a number of media products, particularly American movies, which have become very popular in many parts of Asia. But these new Chinese customers do come with a number of pretty disturbing caveats. First, there's the inevitable catering to China, meaning American companies and others are trying to mold their products to appeal to their people more. This means molding and shaping content like movie scripts or edits of TV shows or video games in a way that better suits a foreign audience, foreign to the homeland and to the original people these products were supposed to be made for, which is usually America, Western, or even European peoples. And needless to say, Asian markets have very different tastes and also different status quos and sensibilities too. And this catering to the East quickly becomes pandering, and even it turns into the content becoming wholly changed and made to fit in with China's much more strict rules. And this was a big part of the last South Park episode too, as there's a big storyline where Stan is trying to make a biopic movie about his band's origin story, but his agent and producers keep stopping him and changing things. Specific examples include removing any references to drugs or homosexuality. And in another part of the episode, South Park goofs on the fact that China banned Winnie the Pooh because people joked about the character looking like the Chinese president. This all, of course, becomes more relevant and hilarious now, considering South Park itself has been banned from China for calling all of this out. Apparently, China doesn't care that banning South Park actually further proves their points. Before we get to the rest of today's story, let's first take a moment to check out our new sponsor, ExpressVPN, for a very fair price of less than $7 per month, which also includes a 30-day money-back guarantee too, so there's really no reason not to give it a shot today. You got nothing to lose. And I personally love using Express to access out-of-country content like South Park and other shows too. First, I look up South Park on Netflix with my normal American connection, and no dice. You can't get it there. But next, I quickly close Netflix and open up the cool app ExpressVPN. There you click on the region you want to change to. In this case, we're changing to the UK, and you press connect and bada bing, bada boom. That's it. It's that easy. And now I go back to Netflix and South Park is now available for our watching pleasure. Also, if you use my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/NoBS, you'll get an extra 3 months of the service totally free. Also, they have apps available for all your favorite devices. So go ahead and check out ExpressVPN today. Links are below this video at the top of the description. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's get back to today's show. That's only the beginning of the greater issue here. Not only is China extremely strict with its media imports and its freedom of speech and expression, but also this communist nation has been guilty of severe human rights violations for years, including throwing people into harsh prison camps or gulags, like what happens to Randy Marsh in the South Park episode. And also, China has recently been pretty harsh on the Hong Kong people, who have been recently protesting and trying to get more rights and freedoms similar to what we have here in the United States. And this is only the beginning of their shady dealings. And keeping all this in mind, it makes the pandering to China and trying to make money off of them and their larger growing customer base even worse. Basically, film franchises like the ones owned by Disney, they have to really look the other way and essentially pretend China's oppressive ways didn't happen, so they can stay in that government's good graces and continue to make money off their people. This less than agreeable tactic is parodied and heightened extremely when South Park's character Randy literally kills the Winnie the Pooh character in order to get in China's good graces. And while this is a clear joke, it does a good job of representing what real companies like Disney have to do and put up with, and ignore and look the other way from, in order to keep making buttloads of cash in communist China. That brings us back to China now banning South Park for calling all this out in a very humorous episode that occurred last week, which was even titled Banned in China itself. How ironic. And many probably saw this coming, including yours truly, and including the South Park creators themselves. But still, it's a very interesting and relevant story that deserves all the coverage it could get. For more information on this story, let's turn to an article from Business Insider, which has more details. It's called "South Park has reportedly been banned in China after its most recent episode criticized censorship in the country." Check this bullshit out. The most recent episode of South Park, called "Banned in China," mocked Hollywood's submission to the country. Now, the long-running Comedy Central animated series has seemingly been banned in China itself. Episodes, clips, and online discussions of the show have been removed from the Chinese internet, according to The Hollywood Reporter. The Hollywood Reporter reviewed the Chinese social network Weibo and found zero mention of the series. Clips and episodes on Chinese streamer Youku didn't work, and South Park discussion forums on Tiba had been closed. Wow, very interesting, and a good look into how the censorship in that country really works in real time. Basically, if you say something negative about China or its government, in a few short days, all references to you or your company get erased from the internet forever, almost like you never existed. This also should make us all appreciate living in the much more free and non-oppressive Western world, especially in America, where our freedom of speech and expression is specifically protected by the US Constitution. Sure, the left would like to take away those freedoms if they had a choice. They love to cancel people and silence their opposition, much like the communists, but thank God we haven't gotten as far as China is yet. This also goes to show South Park is much more sympathetic to the right-wing pro-free speech side, as opposed to the cancel culture word police side on the left. China is currently the second largest theatrical market in the world, and Hollywood has increasingly relied on the country's box office to give potential blockbusters a boost. A report from Ampere Analysis last year predicted that China would surpass the US as the world's box office leader by 2022. This part expands upon the world box office trends we went over earlier, and what makes things unique here for both sides is the direction of media flow. Chinese entertainment is not coming out of there and becoming a big seller overseas, at least not in America from what I've seen. Really, it's American movies and entertainment that's getting shipped and sold across the globe, especially movies going to China in its growing market. This is happening this way for a number of reasons. Firstly, the US and Hollywood essentially invented and pioneered the movie-making industry, and that happened in a free and growing country like the United States, which certainly helped it. China, on the other hand, came in later to the game, and they've been run by authoritarian dictators for generations, which have constantly stifled their development, growth, and creativity. Combine that with the Streisand effect, meaning the more China bans American entertainment, the more its people actually want to watch it, and, well, it makes perfect sense why things go down this way. I would also dare to say American movies are made by the best of the best. Not just the best of our country either. All the best filmmakers, actors, writers, and movie craftsmen come from all over the world to try and make movies in Hollywood, California, which, needless to say, this situation produces better quality pictures. At least it can when our studios aren't trying to lower the bar by pandering to places with stricter rules elsewhere. The South Park episode is heavily critical of China's censorship and references the country's crackdown on Winnie the Pooh imagery. After China's ruling Communist Party announced it wanted to eliminate presidential term limits last year, photos comparing its leader Xi Jinping to Pooh popped up online. Disney's Christopher Robin, a live-action take on the Winnie the Pooh characters, was not released in China last year because the character was such a symbol of resistance, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Comedy Central did not respond on the record to a request for comment from Business Insider. Yeah, I'm not sure what Comedy Central's reaction to all this will be, but they do have a record of being pretty far left-wing and pro-censorship themselves over there, and at their parent company Viacom. But at the same time, this whole situation is certainly going to be good as far as things go for South Park and getting the word out and promoting their new season. People hearing about South Park getting banned will inevitably lead them to check out the show more, looking for the episode that made this happen, trying to see how China got so triggered. Couldn't be a better time for the show to get more hype too. They did just start their 23rd season, which is premiering the 300th episode overall during this week, and I hear that's going to be about the anti-vax movement. Should be good. Also, South Park just got renewed for 3 more seasons after this one, so with all that said, this long-running show certainly isn't fading away into obscurity anytime soon, and in light of these political commentaries and the following controversies, it looks like South Park is actually on top of its game once again. The show's become funnier, edgier, and more relevant than ever, something that's truly needed in this era too, in this new recent wave of PC-ness, or politically correctness, and the cancel culture that's going around too, trying to shut down everything funny, all the comedy and irreverent humor every chance they can get. And I'm not just talking about the censorious left-wingers running China either. The same kinds of things were happening with censorship of comedy in the United States too, just to a lesser degree, but it still is a terrible issue. One more example of this left-wing cancel culture can be seen with the recent release of the Joker movie. While it's not a comedy per se, it was a controversial movie that many liberals tried to stop for conflicting with their soft sensibilities, much like how China stopped and banned South Park. In addition, as we discussed in our previous Joker video, the director of that film talked about liberals ruining comedy in America so bad, he refuses to direct humorous films anymore, because it's not worth the hassle these days. Everyone gets triggered by everything in current year, and while it's nowhere near as bad in the States as it is in China, make no mistake, if we let more left-wingers get in charge and get into power and have their way, they will go full-blown authoritarian, just like how the Red Nation has gone in current year. In the end, not to get too political here, but it's undeniably true. We need to keep an eye on and vote for people who will protect our freedom of speech and expression more than ever. And it's pretty clear President Trump is the president and candidate for next year that will actually protect our freedoms. Not only are the Democratic candidates borderline communists like China already, some even pushing full-blown socialism, but also they are pro-censorship too, and they want to ban people from social media, like how the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris recently asked Twitter to ban President Trump just because she doesn't like him and she disagrees with what he has to say. Also, one more note to add before we go today. While I was writing this video and wrapping things up, the South Park team actually issued their own version of an apology to China on Twitter. It reads, "Official apology to China from Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. Z doesn't look just like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune into our 300th episode Wednesday at 10. Long live the great Communist Party of China. May this autumn's sorghum harvest be bountiful. We good now, China?" Genius move. This of course references the recent episode of South Park and China banning them afterward. And also, it references the NBA or National Basketball Association, another organization who hypocritically kowtows to China in some of the most ridiculous ways possible. For example, the reason South Park mentions democracy here is because recently NBA officials apologized to China because one of their workers said they love democracy. That's right. And also, the NBA removed the All-Star game from Charlotte over a bogus transgender bathroom controversy that should have never happened. Put that all together and just let it sink in, folks. And it should show you how bad this whole China pandering problem has become and how hypocritical these companies can be. What do you guys think about all this? Were you surprised China banned South Park? Should American companies look the other way when China does terrible things to its people just so they can make some more money over there even though they are already rich? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.